Marcus Hayes was running late again. He'd burned the first batch of pancakes, couldn't find Sophie's library book, and his truck had taken 3 tries to start in the cold November morning. Now he sat in Friday traffic, knuckles white on the steering wheel, watching the dashboard clock tick closer to 8:15. "We're gonna make it, Daddy," Sophie said from the back seat. Her 7-year-old voice bright with confidence Marcus didn't feel. "I know, sweetheart. Just cutting it close." He'd been cutting it close for 3 years now, ever since Sophie's mother walked out, since he'd become the sole parent responsible for school drop-offs and doctor appointments and remembering that Fridays were library day. He worked construction, which meant early mornings and physical exhaustion and a paycheck that covered the basics, but not much else. The lunch bag sat on the passenger seat, green with purple dinosaurs, packed with the turkey sandwich he'd made at 5:30 a.m., apple slices, carrots, and 2 chocolate chip cookies from the batch he'd baked last night after Sophie went to bed. They pulled into the school parking lot at 8:12. Sophie grabbed her backpack, and Marcus handed her the lunch bag. "Have a good day, Soph. I love you." "Love you too, Daddy." She paused at the truck door. "Oh, we're going on a field trip today, to the downtown library." Marcus's stomach dropped. "Field trip? Did I sign a permission slip?" "Last week, remember. You signed it at breakfast." He had no memory of this, but that wasn't unusual. His brain was constantly overloaded with details. Work schedules, bill due dates, parent-teacher conferences, Sophie's evolving food preferences. "Right. Be safe, okay? Stay with your class." "I always do." Sophie grinned and ran toward the building, her pigtails bouncing. Marcus had braided them himself that morning, and they were crooked, but Sophie never complained. He watched until she disappeared inside, then headed to the construction site on 5th Street, where he was helping renovate a historic building into luxury condos, the kind of place he'd never be able to afford. The morning passed in sawdust and measurements, the familiar rhythm of manual labor that let his mind wander. He thought about Sophie, about whether he was doing enough, being enough. Other kids had 2 parents, had stability, had mothers who knew how to braid hair properly, and fathers who didn't serve spaghetti 4 nights a week. But Sophie never complained. She was happy, well-adjusted, kind. His crew chief, Pete, always said Marcus was doing a good job, but Marcus never quite believed it. At noon his phone rang, school caller ID. His heart stopped. Field trip. Something happened on the field trip. "Mr. Hayes, this is Principal Morris. Sophie is fine, but we need you to come to the school. There's been, a situation." "What kind of situation? Is she hurt?" "She's not hurt, but we need to speak with you in person. Can you come now?" Marcus told Pete he had a family emergency and drove to Roosevelt Elementary with his mind racing through worst-case scenarios. Sophie injured, Sophie sick, Sophie in trouble for something he couldn't imagine because his daughter was the gentlest soul he'd ever known. He found Principal Morris waiting in her office. But she wasn't alone. A woman stood by the window, mid-30s, professionally dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly rent. Her dark hair was pulled back severely, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Hayes, thank you for coming." Principal Morris gestured to a chair. "This is Elena Castellano. She's an attorney, but she's here in a personal capacity." Marcus shook the woman's hand warily. "What's going on? Where's Sophie?" "Sophie is in class," Morris said. "She doesn't know about this meeting. We wanted to speak with you first." Elena Castellano stepped forward. "Mr. Hayes, I was downtown this morning when Roosevelt Elementary's field trip came through. I witnessed your daughter do something remarkable." Marcus's confusion deepened. "What did she do?" "She gave her lunch to a homeless woman." The words hung in the air. Marcus blinked. "She... what?" "There was a woman sitting outside the library," Elena continued. "Homeless, clearly hungry, holding a sign asking for help. Your daughter walked right up to her and handed over her lunch bag. The whole thing. told the woman she hoped it helped. Marcus felt something tight in his chest, pride mixed with worry. Did Sophie approach a stranger without telling her teacher? She did, Principal Morris admitted, which is why we called you. We need to address the safety aspect. But Mr. Hayes, what she did was extraordinarily compassionate. It was more than that, Elena said quietly. I've lived in this city for 15 years. I walk past homeless people every day. I've trained myself not to see them, to keep moving, to justify my indifference with logic about systemic solutions. And then I watched a 7-year-old do what I've been too cowardly to do. She saw someone suffering and responded immediately. Marcus didn't know what to say. This was Sophie, his Sophie who cried when they saw injured animals on the road, who shared her toys without being asked, who always wanted to help. I gave the woman money after your daughter left, Elena continued. Talk to her. Her name is Rita. She's been on the streets for 8 months, lost everything after a medical crisis. I ended up calling my firm's pro bono coordinator, getting Rita connected with housing services, legal help with her medical debt. She paused. Your daughter started that chain reaction. I wanted you to know. That's very kind, Marcus said carefully, but I'm still not sure why I'm here. Elena and Principal Morris exchanged glances. Because I want to do something for Sophie, Elena said, to honor what she did. I'd like to establish a scholarship in her name for students who demonstrate exceptional character and compassion. Sophie would be the first recipient. Full tuition to any private school in the area, plus a college fund. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. You want to give my daughter money because she shared her lunch? I want to invest in the kind of person your daughter is. The kind of person you raised her to be. You don't know anything about me or how I raised her. I know she saw suffering and responded with immediate kindness. I know she gave away her own food without hesitation. That doesn't happen by accident, Mr. Hayes. That's the result of good parenting, of teaching values that matter. Marcus stood abruptly. I appreciate the gesture, but we don't need charity. It's not charity. It is. You saw my daughter do something nice, and now you want to throw money at us to make yourself feel better about walking past homeless people for 15 years. His voice was harsher than he intended. Sophie did what she did because that's who she is, not because she expected a reward. I understand that. Do you? Because it sounds like you want to turn my daughter's compassion into some kind of transaction. Good deed equals scholarship. That's not how kindness works. Elena's expression remained calm. You're right. I apologize. I approached this wrong. Marcus headed toward the door. I need to talk to Sophie about stranger safety. That's why I'm here. Mr. Hayes, wait. Elena pulled a business card from her purse. I'm not trying to buy your daughter's kindness, but my offer stands. If you change your mind, if you ever need anything, please call me. Marcus took the card more to end the conversation than anything else. I won't change my mind. He found Sophie in her classroom during silent reading. She looked up, surprised and delighted to see him. Daddy, what are you doing here? Hey, Soph, can we talk outside for a minute? In the hallway, Marcus knelt to her level. I heard about what you did today, giving your lunch to that lady. Sophie's eyes widened. Am I in trouble? No, baby, but we need to talk about safety. You can't approach strangers without telling a teacher, okay? Even if you're trying to help. But she was hungry, Daddy. She had a sign that said she needed help. I know, and what you did was very kind. But next time, tell Mrs. Patterson first. Let a grown-up know, so we can help safely. Can you promise me that? Sophie nodded solemnly. I promise. Are you mad? Marcus pulled her into a hug. I'm not mad. I'm proud of you. So proud. But I also need you to be safe. Okay. She hugged him back, then pulled away with sudden worry. Daddy, I gave away my lunch. I'm sorry. I didn't think about not having food. Did you eat? Mrs. Patterson shared her sandwich, and Emma gave me half her apple. Then it's okay. Marcus kissed her forehead. You get back to class. I'll see you at pickup. On the drive back to the construction site, Marcus gripped the steering wheel and fought tears. His daughter had a heart bigger than the world, and he had no idea how to protect it without dimming it. The lawyer's offer echoed in his mind: private school, college fund, opportunities he couldn't provide on his own. But accepting felt like admitting he wasn't enough. Like his best wasn't good enough. He pulled into a gas station parking lot and called his sister Rachel, the only family he had left. "What's wrong?" she answered immediately. Marcus told her everything: the lunch, the homeless woman, the lawyer's offer, his refusal. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. "Marcus, are you turning down help because you don't need it, or because your pride won't let you accept it?" "It's not about pride, isn't it? You've been killing yourself for 3 years, working yourself to exhaustion, refusing every offer of help because you need to prove you can do this alone. But Soph doesn't need you to do it alone. She just needs you to do what's best for her. I am doing what's best for her. Are you? Or are you so busy protecting your ego that you're denying her opportunities?" The words stung because they hit close to truth Marcus didn't want to examine. "Think about it," Rachel said, gentler now. "Not for you, for Sophie." That evening, Marcus made spaghetti, again, while Sophie colored at the kitchen table. The business card sat on the counter where he'd left it, Elena Castellano's name embossed in elegant script. "Daddy?" Sophie's voice was small. "Did I do something wrong today?" Marcus turned from the stove. "No, sweetheart. Why would you think that?" "Because you came to school and looked upset, and you've been quiet all night." He sat beside her, pushing aside crayons to take her hands. "You did something wonderful today, something that made me very proud. I'm just thinking about grown-up stuff." "What kind of grown-up stuff?" "Someone wants to give us money because of what you did." Sophie's nose wrinkled. "That's weird." "Yeah, it is kind of weird." "Why would they do that?" Marcus considered how to explain. "Because what you did reminded them to be better, to help people instead of ignoring them. And they want to say thank you by helping us." "Do we need help?" The question pierced him. "Everyone needs help sometimes, Soph." "But you always say we're doing fine." "We are doing fine." "Then why do we need money?" Marcus pulled her onto his lap, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "We don't need it. But it would make some things easier. You could go to a really good school, have more opportunities." "I like my school. My friends are there." "I know, baby. And we're happy, right? You and me?" "So happy," Marcus said, his voice breaking slightly. "The happiest." Sophie hugged him tight. "Then we don't need anything else." But later, after she was asleep, Marcus pulled out the business card again. He thought about the crooked pigtails he couldn't braid properly, the spaghetti he served too often, the field trip permission slip he'd signed without remembering. He thought about college funds and private schools and opportunities. He thought about his pride versus Sophie's future. At midnight, he sent an email to Elena Castellano's address. "Can we talk? Not about money, just about what happened today." The response came within minutes. "Yes." "Coffee tomorrow? I'll come to you." They met at a diner near the construction site. Elena arrived in jeans and a sweater, looking more human than she had in her lawyer suit. "Thank you for reaching out," she said, sliding into the booth across from him. "I'm sorry about yesterday. I was defensive. You were protecting your daughter. I respect that." Marcus wrapped his hands around his coffee mug. "Can you tell me more about Rita, the woman Sophie helped?" Elena's expression softened. She's 53, worked as a nurse for 20 years, until she got sick. Medical bills destroyed her savings. Then she lost her apartment. She's been surviving on the streets, trying to save enough for a room somewhere. And you're helping her. My firm connected her with legal aid for medical debt relief. Housing services found her a spot in transitional housing. She starts a part-time job next week. Elena paused. Because your daughter saw her, really saw her, as a person who mattered. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Sophie has that effect on people. She learned it from somewhere. Not from me. I'm just trying to keep us afloat. You're teaching her values, compassion, generosity, seeing people's humanity. That's not just keeping afloat, Mr. Hayes. That's raising an exceptional human being. They sat in silence for a moment. The scholarship offer, Marcus said finally. Is it real, or is it guilt money? Both, Elena admitted. I felt guilty. I still do. But it's also real. I want to invest in students like Sophie, students who understand that character matters more than credentials. And if I say no, then I'll respect your decision. But I'll ask you to consider something. What if this isn't about you? What if Sophie's kindness created an opportunity that she deserves to benefit from? Marcus studied this woman across from him. Why do you care so much? You could write a check to the homeless shelter and move on with your life. Elena looked down at her coffee. Because I'm 42 years old, successful by every conventional measure, and completely empty. I have a corner office and a 6-figure salary and no idea what any of it means. Then I watched a 7-year-old do something I've been too scared to do, acknowledge suffering and respond to it. She reminded me that I've been living wrong. That's a lot of weight to put on a kid giving away her lunch. Maybe, but sometimes the smallest acts reveal the biggest truths. Marcus drained his coffee. If I agree to this, and I'm not saying I am, I need conditions. Name them. Sophie doesn't get treated differently because of money. She stays at Roosevelt Elementary with her friends. The scholarship is for later, for middle school or high school if she wants it. And this doesn't become some public relations thing. No news coverage, no photo ops, nothing that makes her feel like a charity case. Elena nodded. Agreed. Anything else? I want to meet Rita. If Sophie's kindness really helped her, I want to know the whole story. I can arrange that. They shook hands across the table, and Marcus felt the weight of the decision settle over him. He was letting someone help, letting someone in. It felt like failure and relief in equal measure. The meeting with Rita happened on a Saturday afternoon at the transitional housing facility. Marcus brought Sophie, who'd insisted on coming once she learned the lady from the library wanted to meet her. Rita waited in the common room, looking healthier than she had in the street. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw Sophie. You, she said, her voice breaking. You're the angel who gave me lunch. Sophie looked shy. It wasn't angel stuff, just lunch. It was more than lunch. Sweetheart, it was hope. Rita knelt down, taking Sophie's hands gently. I was having the worst day, the worst month. I'd started to believe that nobody cared, that I was invisible. And then you saw me. You didn't look away or pretend I wasn't there. You saw me and you helped. Sophie glanced at Marcus, uncertain. He nodded encouragingly. I'm glad you're okay now, Sophie said. Do you have food here? Rita laughed through tears. Yes, honey. I have food. I have a room. I have a job starting soon. And it happened because you reminded a very important lawyer that people in need matter. Elena stood nearby, watching with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. Something vulnerable, almost wistful. After the visit, walking to the truck, Sophie slipped her hand into Marcus's. Daddy? That lady called me an angel. But I'm not. I'm just Sophie. Marcus squeezed her hand. You're exactly right. You're just Sophie. And that's more than enough. Over the following weeks, Marcus found himself spending more time with Elena, not because of the scholarship. That was established. Money set aside in an account Sophie could access when she was older, but because Elena kept showing up. She came to Sophie's school play, sitting in the back row and clapping louder than anyone. She helped Marcus fix his truck when it broke down, getting her hands dirty with motor oil without complaint. She joined them for spaghetti dinners, never once commenting on how many times a week they ate it. "Why are you here?" Marcus asked one evening after Sophie went to bed. Elena looked up from the dishes she'd insisted on washing. "What do you mean?" "You're a successful lawyer. You could be anywhere, doing anything. Why are you in my kitchen washing my dishes?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Because this feels real. My life is full of billable hours and client meetings and networking events, but none of it feels real. This does. You do. Sophie does. You barely know us. I know you're raising an incredible kid on your own. I know you work hard and love harder. I know you're honest and stubborn and maybe too proud for your own good." She smiled. "I know enough." Marcus dried a plate slowly. "I can't give you what you're used to. No fancy restaurants or expensive weekends or whatever your social circle does. I don't want that. I want this. I want spaghetti dinners and school plays and fixing broken trucks. I want to be part of something that matters. We're not a charity project, Elena. I know that. You've made it very clear." She turned to face him fully. "This isn't about charity, Marcus. This is about connection, about finding people who remind you what life is supposed to look like. And what's it supposed to look like? Like what you have with Sophie. Authentic, grounded, full of love instead of performance." Marcus set down his towel. "You're serious. Completely." "Elena, I'm a construction worker with a third-grade education and a used truck. You're a Harvard-educated attorney who probably makes in a month what I make in a year. This doesn't make sense." "Maybe that's why it works." She kissed him then, soft and tentative, and Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. The possibility that he could be both a father and a partner. That accepting help wasn't weakness. That opening his life to someone new didn't mean failing Sophie. When they pulled apart, Elena was crying. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked. "Nothing. Everything. I didn't know I was lonely until I wasn't anymore." She laughed shakily. "Your daughter gave away her lunch and somehow I found a family. We're not your family, not yet. But we could be." Marcus thought about Sophie, about what she needed, what he could provide, what Elena offered that had nothing to do with money, stability, partnership, someone else to share the weight of raising a good human in a hard world. "Yeah," he said finally. "We could be." 6 months later, Marcus stood in the kitchen of the house Elena had helped them move into. Not a mansion, just a modest 3-bedroom in a good school district with a yard where Sophie could play. Elena had insisted on buying it outright, and Marcus had insisted on paying her back through small monthly installments that would take 30 years. They'd compromised. The house was in both their names, a symbol of partnership rather than charity. Sophie ran through the back door, covered in dirt from the garden she and Elena had planted. "Daddy, the tomatoes are getting big. Elena says we can make sauce when they're ready." "That's great, Soph. Go wash up for dinner." Elena appeared behind Sophie, equally dirty, equally happy. "Your daughter has a green thumb, unlike me, who apparently kills even the hardiest plants." "You're learning," Marcus said, pulling her close and kissing her forehead, not caring about the dirt. Sophie made exaggerated gagging noises. "Gross! You guys are always kissing now." "Get used to it," Elena said, grinning. "We're kind of a package deal at this point." That evening, after Sophie was asleep, Marcus and Elena sat on the back porch watching fireflies. "I got a call from Rita today," Elena said. "She's 6 months sober, excelling at her job, and she's been saving money. She wants to do something to thank Sophie." "Sophie doesn't need thanks. I know. But Rita wants to pay it forward. She's volunteering at a youth shelter, helping kids who've aged out of foster care. She said Sophie taught her that small acts of kindness can change everything." Marcus felt familiar tears prick his eyes. "My kid started a movement by sharing a sandwich. Your kid reminded us all what matters. There's power in that. I was so angry when you first offered that scholarship. I thought you were trying to fix something that wasn't broken. And now? Now I think maybe we were both broken in different ways, and somehow we fixed each other. Elena leaned against his shoulder. For the record, I don't think you were broken. I think you were exhausted and overwhelmed and doing the best you could. Same thing. No, broken means damaged beyond repair. You were never that. You were just a good man carrying too much weight alone. And now? Now you're a good man with a partner, still carrying weight but sharing it. Marcus kissed the top of her head. Best partnership I ever entered into. Better than your construction crew? Way better. Pete doesn't make spaghetti with me or braid Sophie's hair. I'm still terrible at braiding. So am I. We'll learn together. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to crickets and distant traffic, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. Inside, Sophie slept peacefully, surrounded by stuffed animals and art projects, and the security of knowing she was loved beyond measure. She had no idea that her simple act of kindness had created ripples that extended far beyond one hungry woman. Rita had found housing and hope. Elena had found purpose and family. Marcus had found partnership and the courage to accept help. And Sophie remained exactly who she'd always been. A 7-year-old girl with a big heart and crooked pigtails who saw suffering and responded with immediate, uncomplicated compassion. But now she had something more. A bigger family. More people to love and be loved by. More evidence that kindness mattered, that small acts could change worlds, that giving what you have, even when it costs you, creates more than it takes away. Marcus thought about that lunch bag, long gone now, probably in a landfill somewhere. Such a small thing. A turkey sandwich, some apple slices, 2 chocolate chip cookies. But it had fed more than Rita's hunger. It had fed Marcus's hope that he was raising Sophie right. It had fed Elena's starving need for authentic connection. It had fed Rita's belief that humanity still existed. And it continued to feed the cycle of kindness that spread from that single act. Rita volunteering at the shelter, Elena restructuring her law practice to do more pro bono work, Marcus teaching Sophie that generosity meant more than money. One lunch. One moment of seeing and responding to need. That's all it took to change everything. Marcus looked at Elena beside him, at the house full of love behind him, at the future spreading out before them full of possibility and promise. And he cried grateful tears for a daughter who'd taught them all that the smallest acts of kindness could feed the hungriest hearts. Not with food, but with hope, with connection, with the reminder that we're all just people who need each other. And when we help each other, really see and help each other, we create families from strangers, hope from despair, and love from the simple decision to share what we have. Even if it's just a lunch in a dinosaur bag. Even if it costs us something. Especially when it costs us something. Because that's when sharing matters most. That's when kindness becomes transformative. And that's when a single dad and his 7-year-old daughter can change the world. One generous heart at a time. 5 years had passed since Sophie handed her dinosaur lunch bag to a stranger. Now 12 years old, she stood at a podium in the grand ballroom of the Riverside Convention Center, addressing 300 people gathered for the annual Community Impact Awards. Marcus watched from the front row, his hand intertwined with Elena's, his throat already tight with emotion before Sophie even began speaking. "When I was 7, Sophie started, her voice steady and clear. I gave my lunch to a lady who was hungry. I didn't think it was a big deal. My dad always taught me that when you have something and someone else needs it, you share. That's just what you do." She paused, looking directly at Marcus. What I didn't know then was that my dad was teaching me by example. He shared everything he had, even when he didn't have much. Time, kindness, the last cookie in the package. He showed me that generosity isn't about how much you give. It's about giving what you can, when you can, to whoever needs it. Marcus felt Elena squeeze his hand as tears rolled down his cheeks. That lunch led to some amazing things, Sophie continued. Rita, the woman I helped, is here tonight. She's been sober for 5 years, has her own apartment, and volunteers 20 hours a week helping other people experiencing homelessness. She didn't just get back on her feet. She became someone who lifts others up too. Rita stood from her seat 3 rows back, wiping her eyes, and the room applauded. And Elena, Sophie gestured toward the front row, who saw what happened that day and decided to change her whole life. She left her fancy law firm to start a nonprofit that provides legal services to people who can't afford them. She's helped over 200 families stay in their homes, fight wrongful evictions, and get back on their feet. Elena pressed her hand to her mouth, overwhelmed. But the person I want to talk about most is my dad. Sophie's voice wavered slightly. Marcus Hayes, who raised me by himself, who worked construction jobs and came home exhausted every night, but still helped with homework and made dinner and braided my hair. Badly, but he tried. Laughter rippled through the audience. My dad could have been bitter about doing it alone. He could have taught me that life was hard and people were selfish, and you had to protect what's yours. But he didn't. He taught me the opposite. He taught me that people matter more than things, that kindness costs nothing but means everything, that showing up for each other is what makes us human. Marcus couldn't see any more through his tears. 5 years ago, I gave away a lunch my dad made for me. Turkey sandwich, apple slices, carrots, and 2 chocolate chip cookies he baked from scratch because that's the kind of dad he is. That lunch started something bigger than I could have imagined. But none of it would have happened if my dad hadn't first taught me to see people, to care about them, to help when I could. Sophie looked directly at Marcus now. Daddy, you always said you were just trying to keep us afloat. But you did so much more than that. You taught me how to be a good person, how to live with integrity and compassion, how to build a life that matters. Everything good I do started with you. She held up a plaque. Tonight, they're giving me an award for youth leadership and community service. But this award belongs to you, because I'm only who I am because of who you are. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Marcus couldn't move, couldn't breathe, could only sit there sobbing as Sophie left the podium and walked straight to him, placing the plaque in his trembling hands. I love you, Daddy, she whispered, hugging him tight. Thank you for teaching me what really matters. Marcus held his daughter, not so little anymore, nearly as tall as him now, and felt Elena's arms wrap around both of them. This family they'd built from broken pieces and bound together with love. I'm so proud of you, Soph, he managed to say. So incredibly proud. I learned from the best, she replied. Later that night, back home in the house they all shared, Marcus tucked the plaque onto the shelf beside Sophie's school photos and art projects. Elena came up behind him, resting her chin on his shoulder. You know what I realized tonight? She said softly. What's that? That lunch bag changed my life as much as Rita's, maybe more. I found my purpose. I found my family. I found myself. All because a single dad raised his daughter to see people's humanity. Marcus turned to face her. I was just doing my best. Your best changed the world, Marcus. One lunch at a time. One act of kindness. One lesson about what really matters. She kissed him gently. You're an extraordinary man. I hope you know that. I'm just a guy who loves his kid. That's what makes you extraordinary. Upstairs, Sophie called down, Daddy, can you help me with my math homework? Marcus smiled. Some things never changed. Be right there, sweetheart. He climbed the stairs to Sophie's room, where she sat surrounded by algebra textbooks and notebooks covered in doodles. 12 years old, and already planning to study social work in college, already volunteering at the youth shelter with Rita, already changing her corner of the world one kind act at a time. Thanks, Dad, she said as he sat beside her. I can't figure out this equation. Marcus looked at the problem, admittedly out of his depth with pre-algebra, but he sat with her anyway, working through it together, because that's what he did. He showed up. He stayed present. He taught by example that what mattered wasn't having all the answers. It was being willing to figure them out together. And as he helped his daughter with homework in their warm, safe house, with the woman he loved downstairs making tea, with a future full of possibility stretching before them, Marcus understood something profound. That lunch bag 5 years ago hadn't just fed a hungry woman. It had fed hope, connection, love, purpose, family. It had fed everything that made life worth living. And it all started because a single dad taught his daughter a simple truth. When you have something and someone else needs it, you share. That's just what you do. That's what makes us human. That's what changes the world, one generous heart at a time.